Hello and welcome to this new lecture on React Native in which we'll learn about basic form. In the last lecture, we learned about icons and how to use them. In this one, we'll learn about inputs and how we can use them to develop simple forms. Following this, inputs will be created, hooks will be applied, and things will be done in accordance with the specifications. Start by visiting VS Code. Any modifications you make to the login form are only applied to that form. They are not immediately carried over to the sign-up form. Therefore, developing benefits that can manage completions individually is advantageous. It implies that you can appropriately keep things separated if you wish to. Okay, so first leave a remark on the registration button. Now import test into the app.js section. In order to use text input, use the closing text input tag after importing text input. Now enter username in the placeholder. Now if you save the file, you will notice that the application prints the user's name and displays a keypad. Then copy the text input and paste it again to create another placeholder with the name password, since the username and password will be obtained separately. Okay, input text tags for labels are also an option. Username and password are entered into the program. Let's now style the inputs. Style each input individually. So you need to work on styling input tags individually, otherwise it might become confusing and you might end up making mistakes. You can also use inline styling if you are doing some quick and easy styling, such as changing the font or color of any component. However, you should make a style sheet if you wish to perform more complex styling. Okay, so importing a style sheet is necessary before we can start styling. So use call styles and class styles from now on. Next, create a const styles variable and call it stylesheet.create. After that, style your text here using brackets. Use input first. Then choose a red border color. Now, when you save the file and open it in a browser, you'll notice that the red color is not working because the border's width is not specified. Give the border a width of 5 pixels and save the file. Go to your browser now to see that the red border color is working as intended. Use padding to separate the username from the border. You can see that there is a decent amount of space between the text and border if you make the padding 10 pixels for the time being and save the file, okay? Now that the border is touching the input on the login screen, use margins to create a practical spacing between each input. If you want the second input to automatically receive the same styling, copy styles equals styles, input and paste it there before saving the file. Now, when you open a browser, you'll see that both inputs have the same styling. When the borders of two inputs are near one another, create a 10 pixel margin to leave enough space between the two components. Okay, additionally, you can alter the font size and background colors. For inputs, select a gray backdrop color. Any color can be used depending on your preference. So correct inputs are now being created. And now that you require an input for submission, you also require a button to send input data. Avoid using a button here, since in most cases you cannot design a button, even though you can make one with styling. Okay, so for this, import touchable opacity first, then apply touchable opacity. First, add the text click here to a touchable opacity tag. You should now notice that the click here text is printed in the browser when you save the file and open the application. Let's style it right now. So to use styles, copy the style class and paste it in the touchable opacity tag. Change the styles. Input to styles.button. Let's now style the button. So use brackets and bracket styling. Apply first a 150 pixels width, a 50 pixels height. Center the pieces. Select the gray background. Apply 10 pixels padding and the left 130 pixel margin. Use a specific color for the backdrop, such as DDD, then save the file. you can now see that a click here button has been created in the application when you save the file and open it. The button is reachable and functional. So use 12 pixels padding instead of 10 pixels padding, which will improve the appearance. Okay, since we used hooks, we have a proper button. As was previously mentioned, hooks are needed to appropriately obtain data from dynamic components. Add the use state hook to the login.js file now. Now use an array, write username and set username in the variable const that you just declared. It implies that it will function properly if you add usernames. Alright, after you've done this, make the class use state. If you save the file, you'll initially experience a problem, but when you use it properly, the problem will be fixed. Okay, so use a different text component below touch opacity to write the text. For example, your username is : then use brackets to add the username. If you save the file, an error that shouldn't have happened will appear. Go to the first text input tag and use an unchanged text event for the moment. The cause of the error will be investigated later. So to enable text to change quickly while being written, we use unchanged events. Use text form, like for a single change text event in brackets. Use the set username text function in an arrow function now. The variable is declared outside of brackets, therefore the issue is still present. The variable should now be clipped and pasted inside brackets. The error will be fixed once you save the file. So now when you open a browser and type alpha, in the first input, the data will also be written below and a click here button will appear. The main goal of this operation was to ensure that the function would also operate when the button was pressed. Okay, so to submit data, use the press event. As one press event has already been mentioned, press events are not currently used because it's a unique event that hasn't been covered before. So we're explaining the unchanged text event for that exact reason. Okay, so we just reached the end of this lecture. Thank you very much for watching and see you soon in the next one.